The more that I've slowed down this year, the clearer that it has become that a lot of what we normalize in this coaching industry is actually nervous system dysregulation, dressed up as ambition, expansion, and leadership. The coaching industry has a nervous system problem, and we're going to talk about that today. And I want to talk about this without any blame because most of what's happening, it isn't meticulous. It is unconscious. And it's costing powerful women their sense of safety, intuition, and sustainability. This has been sitting with me for a while now because what I'm about to talk about isn't something that I read in a book or learned in a certification. It's something that I've actually lived through. I have been in the coaching industry since 2018, long enough to see some cycles that come and go. There are trends, language evolves, platforms shift, but one pattern, it keeps repeating. There was a point where my business, it looked successful on the outside. There was money coming in, there was momentum, there was growth, but something in my body felt completely off. And this is when I started outsourcing more of my power. I started hiring coaches that I thought had the answer for me to scale and grow my business. And I started using sales scripts. I started handling objections and doing sales calls. I started creating urgency, enrolling people who weren't fully ready. And I wasn't manipulating anyone intentionally. I was just doing what I was taught with sales psychology, but I was absolutely overriding my nervous system and overriding theirs. I could feel when someone was hesitating. And instead of honoring that, I had been taught how to manipulate and move them past it, even if their nervous systems and bodies weren't necessarily ready. And that's when I realized if my strategy requires someone to disconnect from their body in order to say yes, something's wrong. When that is when I shut down my ads, when I stopped the sales calls, when I paused my business, it was just a time where I just had to be like, no, I am not doing this anymore. I couldn't keep pushing. The pressure wasn't excitement anymore. Deep down, I was like, yes, I want to help, I want to serve, I want to guide, but not from this place. It felt like I was just lying to myself, and it didn't feel good for me to guide these women, many of these women that were coming into my spaces, because they weren't really necessarily ready to work with me. And I looked at myself and I was like, wow, there's so many times that I've 10x myself where people would shake and be like, how did you actually do that? It's because I built and grew my capacity to do it. And instead of honoring, okay, everyone has different growth edges and how to like titrate those edges. I didn't learn that until I got certified in somatics. And now that I know that, I realize how myself and how other coaches push people to pass their edges, and then they wonder why the strategies that they're taught or the things that they're taught in these coaching speeches don't work. And they don't work because they've expanded past their capacity, so they can't hold it or they can't do it because they're like, whoa, okay, yeah, I saw you took that 10x leap, but for me that's really scary because I've never done anything that big before. So we need to actually take these baby steps forward in order to make that big leap, right? And it looks different for everyone. The pressure wasn't excitement anymore. It felt like bracing. It didn't feel like expansion to me. Although my bank account was expanding, it didn't feel like expansion within myself. And I am a firm believer in your inner world must match your outer world, or there's going to be that conflict within and outside as well, right? Because your inner world matches your outer world. So I didn't shut down those ads. I didn't stop what I was doing because I didn't believe in my work. I stopped because my body was done being overridden. I was done lying to myself. What the industry often calls collapse is actually their nervous system saying, I can't do it this way anymore. And we need to honor that, and we need to normalize that and get to the root behind why are we feeling this way? Oh, maybe because this person's strategy isn't aligned for our own. I think there are coaches in the industry who are fucking phenomenal at what they do, but they were taught how to do things in a very manipulative way that really makes them look like bad coaches, right? And I really think it's a nervous system problem because if you are a leader and you're doing things out of your integrity, if you're overriding your nervous system, then you're doing things that are out of alignment for you. You're doing things that are out of your core values. And if you're doing that, you need to realize that you're doing that, or else you're not being an iconic woman leader. You are lying not only to yourself, but to others. Coaches that scale before they stabilize, you don't have that foundation to keep growing and to keep scaling. And that's when you're going to get burnt out. That's when you're going to blame things on other people. That's when you're going to just start questioning everything. You must stabilize and build your nervous system capacity in order to scale. But so often we drink the Kool-Aid and we're like, no, I need to keep going and pushing and doing. And we're seeing other people's successes and their momentum and how much money they're making and where they're at. And it's so unhealthy to believe that we could be there in a split second. Teaching from this like adrenaline, mistaking urgency for alignment, never slowing long enough to feel the cost of it. I had to admit that I built success on a nervous system that was used to pushing. I had to admit that to myself as I started learning this work. And that didn't make me wrong. Like the way that I built things before, it was amazing the way I built things before because that's all I ever knew. But once I learned this mastery, I learned that the way that I was building things before, I could not do it at the next level caliber and the way that I needed to be. It wasn't sustainable for me to be working from that place. There is that exhaustion after high months. There was guilt around resting and the constant scanning for the next thing. What is the next thing I can launch? What is the next program I could do? And it was just like I was on this like hamster wheel, right? Because you see other people putting courses and programs and things out there and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm behind if I don't keep going and pushing, right? And it was so hard for me to just be still without producing. Even when things were working, my body, it never exhaled. And that's not a way to live. That's not a way to be. You want to build your business so that you could feel like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful extension of me. I'm having fun. Things are flowing. And like, you don't want it to feel like it's a chore. You don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, I constantly have to do in order for it to run. Like, no. And that is when I realized success without safety doesn't feel like success in your body. Most of the women who come to me aren't stuck or plateauing or circling the same level because they don't know what to do. They are feeling stuck because their body doesn't trust the pace that they've been running at. They've been bypassing so much or like, oh my God, is this going to require more from me? Because yeah, of course, growing and scaling and evolving, it requires more of you, right? It requires more capacity. It requires more responsibility. And then they're like, oh, I don't really want that, but I do want the external results, right? That's where that gap is. You are afraid to slow down because income feels unsafe. I could have been so afraid to say, you know what, I'm taking an IG hiatus and I'm going to, really focus on my podcast and my YouTube and my legacy level content and create a whole new ecosystem. I could have felt so afraid to do that and never have done it because because my nervous system correlated posting on Instagram with making money because that's the way I built my business before. I could have been afraid to slow down because it felt unsafe in my body because I correlated with that with income, right? But I'm not because it feels good because I'm grounded in my truth. I up leveled my identity to feel safe, even if things quote unquote slow down in other areas, even if I'm not posting things on Instagram and while it may hurt my engagement, in the future, I'm okay with that because I know where I'm putting my energy now is for the long term game. And I can feel safe in my body knowing like this is okay. This is only temporary right now where I'm off of this platform. And I'm able to instill that safety in my body because of my nervous system rewiring and regulation. There are women who cannot rest without panicking, without being like, I constantly have to be doing because doing equals money, doing equals productivity, doing equals my worth. And that is not a way to live. That's not a way to live. You want to do because you're having fun doing something because it lights you up, because it fuels you, it gives you energy. You don't want to do things because you think you have to do it in order to be successful, right? You want to do it from a place where this feels really good. And you know what? If I want to take a week off of Instagram, I can. You know what? If I want to take a month off of Instagram, I can. I'm just using my Instagram story for an example, but this could be with anything, right? What I also see is women whose intuition is quiet because they've trained themselves to override it. They've trained themselves to outsource their power, to trust other people who maybe are making more money than them, have more successes for them, thinking that they have all of the answers. Now, I want you to know something. When you work with me, I draw the truth and the answers out of you, and then we come up with strategic roadmap and things that work for you. Okay, I will never be the coach that tells you you have to do it this way. There is no cookie cutter strategy. Okay, you are the strategy. We just unlock all of that within you. So with women I've worked with, I've seen their intuition, it gets so diluted because they're like, oh, everyone else has the answer but me, because that's of course why they're making $1 million months, 30K months, 100K months, whatever number you want to say, right? You've trained your body to outsource your power. You are a capable, powerful woman who just learn to survive success instead of feel safe inside of it. And there's nothing wrong with you. This is happening. This is the way we've conditioned to be because it's been normalized. It has been normalized that hustle equals success. And I'm here to shift the paradigm of leadership. And this is a new way of being. This is what is actually sustainable. This year taught me that expansion without capacity will always demand a price. I had to decouple safety from performance. Before, I would think I have to perform, I have to prove, I have to do this, I have to do all these things, right? All these external things in order to feel safe, right? It feels safe for me when I'm constantly doing. I had to decouple that. Okay, this is something. And when you learn nervous system mastery, when you dive into this work with me, you'll realize that your body always remembers what feels safe and what doesn't. And your body will signal, let's say, stress or unsafety if you are like resting when you should be quote unquote working, because it is correlated, the coupling of doing, of performing, let's say, with being chosen, with being the chosen one, right? The performance of I want them to like me, I want to be chosen, I want to make this content so perfect so that they'll choose me, right? But from a place of like performance versus truth. So I had to decouple that, and I had to realize what true safety is in my body, not what I was conditioned to believe. I had to relearn capacity, safety, stabilization. I had to let go of the fantasy that one client changes everything. One client doesn't change everything. Being the iconic woman version of me daily creates momentum, creates consistency, creates the frequency that is going to attract my dream clients to me, not holding on to like, I hope they buy because this is the only thing I have. No, if they don't buy, that's okay. Maybe it's just not the right timing for us. Maybe they'll be back in the future. Maybe they weren't the one. It's a letting go of being so attached to the outcome. I had to let go of being so attached to the outcome of things. I had to choose grounded consistency over the adrenaline rush. That was really hard for me to do because before I was like, I'm a creative. I do things on a whim. I like to be spontaneous. Now, the truth is that we need the foundation for the consistency. We still need to have the strategy, and I can also have fun and be flowy and free and do things on a whim. Like I could do that too. I can do both. And I realized that. I realized that I was having so much resistance to committing to something because I'm like, oh, well, what if my creative visionary brain changes I change something in my mind and I'm like, oh, I want to do it this way now. Like, oh, well, I can't do that. If I have, if I have this all planned and this strategized, it's like I learned how to navigate that and really learned what my truth was and what my fear was in having things that were so structured and more rigid. I learned to blend the feminine and the masculine together in order to grow and scale. I had to become someone who can hold success and not chase it. That shiny object syndrome, and doing the next thing and the next thing. Oh, that person's doing that. That sounds great. Oh my gosh, wait, I could do it better. I could do it this way. I could do that way. Not chasing it. I just held my truth, held my power, held what I believed and wanted to teach and who and how I wanted to lead. I don't believe that leadership should require nervous system collapse. I don't believe that growth should feel like self-betrayal. The leaders I trust now are the ones whose presence just regulates me, not pressures me. I feel emotionally connected with them. I feel like, oh, girl, yes, you're an iconic woman. You're a heart led leader. I feel you. And the one-to-one sessions that I offer aren't about doing more and adding more onto your plate. They're about understanding what your body needs in order to grow without abandoning yourself. The capacity, the stabilization, the discernment. So if this episode feels familiar in your body, you'll find the link in the show notes below. I truly believe the next era of leadership is going to be led by women who know how to listen to their bodies, not override them. That is the work I'm committed to now. And that's why I am claiming this and I am naming this as a new paradigm of heart-led, iconic woman leadership. It is being rewired, regulated. It is caring about your body just as much as you care about your external business because they both work together. And if you do not have that internal foundation, you're going to eventually collapse. So here's to being truthful to yourself. And here's to becoming and being actively the icon that you are. I love you. It's time to remember who the fuck you are, icon. I'll see you on the next episode.